Hi, my name is Justin Galloway, and I did my IWA in social media bots. As many as 270 million of Facebook's active reported users, nearly 15% of, are automated accounts designed to simulate real people. Now, the usages for these social media bots range from aggregating content from various news sources to advertising different products from different companies. Though in recent years, these social media bots have been surrounded with controversy over their spreading of misinformation to the public and have been blamed/associated with the rigging of the US 2016 election. This recent controversy surrounding the usage of these bots and their impacts on the public has driven me to my driving question: to what extent does the role of 21st century bots have on disseminating news to the general public of Western nations? After reviewing several studies talking about the impact and effects that these social media bots have had on the public, I've come to the conclusion that the utilization of these bots on social media and general news sources has proven to be harmful to the spread of misinformation. Now, starting with my first perspective, these social media bots have actually been a catalyst for hate speech, such as what has been seen in Germany in the past couple of years. Now, what's been happening in Germany is these social media bots have been taking advantage of xenophobia in the public regarding the immigrating refugees into the country of Germany. Now, these immigrating refugees have been the target of many scandals involving the stealing of jobs, rape, rising crime levels, and many more. Now, while some of these stories may be true, for the most part they've been largely exaggerated and fabricated to create for better headlines. These stories have taken a toll on the German public, who many of whom now consider these immigrating refugees to be a menace to society. The situation in Germany has gotten so bad that back in 2017, Germany unveiled a hate speech bill that would fine social media companies like Facebook and Twitter up to 50 million euros, which is about $56 million, for failing to take down stories that incite hate speech. Moving on, these social media bots have also been used by politicians in the rigging of elections, specifically in the US 2016 election, with 68% of adult Americans using Facebook, 21% using Twitter, and about after August of 2017, 67% of adult Americans have reported that they get some of their news from social media. These specific individuals have been targeted by politicians online to spread slanderous material over competing candidates in the hopes that they'll bring them on their side and point of view. After the US 2016 election had ended, information was found that pointed to the usage of these bots tampering with the election. Twitter executives had admitted 50,000 Russian-linked accounts, all in favor of the candidate Donald J. Trump. Now, furthermore, an analysis conducted by Oxford University, a research team done there, found that more than a third of pro-Trump tweets and about one-fifth of pro-Clinton tweets between the first and second debates all came from automated accounts. Now, the reason this is so bad is because this fake information progressively spreads throughout the population, leading many people to have false impressions of the candidates they're supposed to be voting for, leading many people to not be able to vote honestly. Moving on, not only politicians though, these social media bots have been used by countries like Russia and even the United States to destabilize the public and politics of other countries. In the case of the United States Agency of International Development back in 2010 tried to create a sort of Cuban Twitter unbeknownst to the Cuban government by the name of Zunzunio. Now, the whole plan of Zunzunio was when it would amass a larger subscriber base, it would begin to introduce political content aimed at encouraging protests to bring about a sort of Cuban Spring, similar to the Arab Spring from years past. Similarly, Russia has also used social media bots to destabilize the US, like the time during the 2016 election. It was estimated that 126 million Americans were exposed to Russian-backed material at the time of the election, all of which was once again in favor of the candidate Donald J. Trump. Despite all the negatives associated with these social media bots, there have been many studies insisting that these social media bots have actually been beneficial to businesses and how they can provide great exposure for their services online. Now, the reason these businesses find these social media bots so appealing is because of the wide ranges of uses they have for them. Chatbots can be used to answer and talk and just conversate with the customers online, and then enterprise-grade bots can be used to automate time-consuming tasks. Now, after assessing the various effects that these social media bots have had on the general public, I've come to the conclusion that these social media bots have had more of a negative impact than a positive one. Now, our proposed solution has been to have a law banning the usage of these social media bots online. Therefore, the spread of fake news online would dissipate altogether. Although there are many limitations involved with this solution, rendering it ineffective. For starters, there is no explicitly stated group that would actually enforce this law. Not to mention, even if this law would lower the amount of fake news stories going online, there would be no way to monitor all activities online involving these bots. For our second solution, it's similar to the law passed in Germany back in 2017, although instead of only applying to social media bots, it'll apply to all online sources, not just social media sites. So, in this law, all online sources that contain any aspect of displaying news must assess this information for exaggerated and fabricated content. If not, they risk receiving a fine, losing the ability to display and produce news, and or the termination of their website altogether. All of this would be enforced by the government of the respective countries that these events take place in, of course. Now, looking at the implications, this includes that the law would actually lower the amount of fake news stories going online and spreading throughout the public. Although when looking at the limitations, when it's mentioned in government, it still fails to mention if there would be a specific branch, legislation, or just really group in general that would be in charge of enforcing this group. All in all, when it came down to choosing the solution that would be more applicable in real life, I came up with solution 2. In the end, like I said, solution 2 worked the best because, like I said, it was the more applicable solution and how it was the more realistic one. These are my citations, and this has been my IWA on social media bots, and I hope you enjoyed.